Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of The Spirit of the Valley. We've done several shows over the past with Dartmouth students who do various, one was a hike to Moosalok and various things, but I have a wonderful woman here, Emily Mason Osen. How'd I do on your name?
Perfect.
I've blown it until this minute. And she runs the freshman trips, which I think are fascinating, and I don't think enough of us know much about them. I think we just know they happen. The kids all arrive way ahead of the others, and there's packs all over the collis, and that's it. So I don't know, have they been going on for just years and years, or do you know?
Yeah, so this is actually, I believe, the 77th year of the freshman trips program.
Wow.
It's changed a lot over the years. So it started out as just some upperclassmen who were just asked some freshmen if they wanted to go hiking with them before classes started. And so it kind of started as an informal thing. It became a more formal thing and was much more like a kind of a recruiting tool for the Dartmouth Outing Club for a while. And so they picked people to invite to the trips based on who they wanted to join the outing club when that was long ago when it was still like that.
Was that based on their applications that said they were hikers, or?
You know, I'm not really sure how
they just
picked
somehow
those
knew
people
there
out.
were outdoor people.
Yeah, it might have been based on applications.
Yep.
It might have been other things, other recruiting tools.
Yep.
And then sometime in the 80s, it switched over to being a much more inclusive program. And so now it's something where our goal is to get as much of the freshman class as possible to come on these trips. And so we invite the whole freshman class. This year we're at about 90 so far. We're still 90%. We're still accepting registrations.
Yep.
Last year I think it ended up being about 95% participation.
That's a great number.
Yeah, it's huge. And this is incoming freshmen, incoming transfer students, and incoming exchange students who come on these trips. And we try to make it something that represents a diverse perspectives from all over campus, diverse perspectives for the incoming class, and try to offer something that we can find something interesting for everybody who comes.
Well, you have how many different kinds? I know there's water and hiking.
I'm not actually even sure what that
more
number
than just hiking
is.
and biking.
Yeah,
and
we've got hiking,
rowing,
we've got
canoeing.
mountain biking, canoeing, kayaking, whitewater kayaking, hike and yoga, nature photography,
it's changed dramatically.
writing and art. Let's see, what are the other ones? Fishing.
Fabulous.
Trail work. So we've got a little bit of everything.
I remember when my own daughter went and got into this program. It was hiking, canoeing, and I'm not sure there was much else.
Yeah.
And I listened to this, and this is, why wouldn't everyone want to do this? I mean, and the bonding part of it is what I remember hearing a lot about it, because that newness is scary. And you immediately at least have, short term anyway, a really good bunch of friends right off the bat.
Yeah, that's exactly
probably the goal.
The trip type kind of dictates a little bit of how your trip goes, but we've had some nervous freshmen come talking with us recently about their trip type and not feeling like they're prepared to go canoeing, or they don't want to do X, Y, or Z, whatever they're put on. And we're just like, it's okay. The trip type is just part of it. It's really about a bonding experience, getting to know some of your peers, both the upperclassmen, your incoming classmates, and everyone else, and starting to figure out what it's like to be a Dartmouth student.
Right. Does that help them?
Yeah, it
I mean,
does.
you win them over with that. You must be good at that. I mean, it's all, the whole thing is awesome and intimidating to begin with.
Exactly.
And then if you get into something you're not sure you want to do or never done before, you need the other reasons for it.
Yeah.
Given right out to you, so that you know it's more about the personal end of it than it is the ability or
it's much
skill.
more about what comes out of it rather than actually the wilderness experience or the hike that you do or anything like that.
They're the first friends you're going to have.
People. Yeah.
So they may not be lifelong, but it's great to start out knowing some people fairly well.
Yeah, exactly.
And then most of them branch out well beyond it. But I think it's a wonderful experience. So do they get assigned a trip? Or
yep. So that was
no lottery or no.
No, that was a large puzzle that I did. So students are able to put in preferences for the dates that they can go on and the types of trips. So since we send out about 1,300 students, between 1,300 and 1,400 students into the wilderness, and that includes the incoming students and the upperclassmen leaders. So we split it up into 10 different sections,
Okay.
and they leave one day after the other.
Okay.
And so students can put in preferences for which section they want to go on and trip type, and then we work within those constraints and constraints of lots of other programs and preseason athletes and all of that to try to get everyone onto something that they are at least kind of interested in.
Do they get 1, 2, 3 choices, or do they just get, here's the one I'd prefer?
They get to put in, they put in a first choice, they put in like a bunch of choices that they're like, I'm pretty excited about this one, and then a bunch of choices that they're like, I'm like, okay about
If
this
I have
one.
to.
Yeah.
But I would suspect, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, that they all come back fairly enthusiastic about what's gone on.
Yeah, we get some students who are a little bummed about their trip assignment at first, but after trips you very rarely hear any students talking about being bummed about what type of trip they were on afterwards. They're all really excited about it
Well,
afterwards.
and if they struggle with it at all, I would think just skill-wise, someone in the group, I'm sure it's a supportive atmosphere where someone would help them learn how to paddle or...
Yeah, and we try to have leaders. The leaders on the trips are often paired so that one of the leaders is skilled at whatever they're doing and one of the leaders might be slightly less skilled.
Yep.
So that's kind of two sides of a coin where one of the leaders can help the students feel confident and like excited to go into the wilderness if they've never done it, and one of the leaders you can relate to them a little more if this is like your first time camping. Exactly.
I love that. What a smart idea not to have the one leader in the group be a pro.
Yeah.
And make you feel even more uncomfortable when
Yeah,
you start
exactly.
out.
I remember I led a hiking trip last year that was the hardest hiking level, and I was bringing up the rear of my group. I made all of my freshmen feel better about how fast they were moving.
Everybody serves a purpose.
Exactly.
What was the hike that was so tough?
So we were up in the White Mountains, and we hiked up North and South Twin, and then we hiked across Franconia Ridge.
Wow.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was incredible.
I know the area. I mean, it is stunning with the presidentials, but there was some incline, I'm assuming. And
we climbed up a waterfall.
You've got to be kidding me.
On the last half mile of the first day.
Well, that would make anyone wonder, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Including you.
Yeah.
But
it's a sense of accomplishment when you get
well,
to the top.
I think it's good to start a new year like these kids do with a challenge. I think they may have been the most confident kid in high school, but not as a brand new freshman stepping on the campus always.
It's actually really interesting. I've had some requests from people when they were filling out their registration forms saying, I'm a very experienced hiker, I really like hiking, but I'd really like to go on something besides a hiking trip so I can start something new.
Oh.
So it's really great to see these kids already like coming in the gate and challenging themselves and wanting to try out new things.
That's
and
wonderful because they're not
bodes
looking for
well.
the soft landing to make it that much easier.
They just want to try something new. It's great.
Yeah, well, so they start off confident, and some come in confident, but obviously not everyone.
Yeah.
So how many leaders, 2 leaders per 10?
Yep, there's 2 leaders per trip. The trips range in size, so we have some trips that have 4 freshmen and 2 leaders. That's kind of the smallest end is a 6-person trip, and then they go up to 12 people, so that's 2 leaders and 10
What
freshmen.
determines the size? I mean, besides the obvious breakdown of numbers, is there some trip that just is better, easier handled with fewer people?
Yeah, so like the trail work trips tend to be smaller just because it's easier to manage and direct 4 people for trail work, whereas a hiking trip can be larger. Some of the hiking trips are limited in size based on campsites and permits and things like that. We try to make the more popular trips bigger so that more students who are interested in doing things.
What is the number one?
Whitewater kayaking. Everyone wants to go whitewater kayaking.
Interesting, because I wouldn't have that on the top of my list.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. That's fascinating. But they know ahead of time that they're going to take what they get. Mm-hmm. And they're probably pretty good sports about it, except a few that it wouldn't be that I'm angry, it's that I'm nervous. I've never done this before, which is all the more reason to do it, as you say. It's a challenge right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I think the introduction of these trips into freshman years at all colleges, and I think almost everyone is doing them now, or at least a lot.
Yeah, so the numbers are definitely growing.
Yeah.
I think Dartmouth's program is pretty unique in terms of the percentage that it gets. I think most programs are not getting 95%.
Because you get a choice.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's to the point where a lot of students, right when we were doing registrations, started asking me, is this obligatory? Do you have to do DOC trips? And I was like, no, you don't have to do them. Like if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. We have run a successful program for many years, and so people want to do it, which is great. And that's something that we value a lot. We don't want to make it an obligatory program because we want it to be something that students choose to go on and are really excited about.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I
had one daughter say absolutely not. She didn't want to go that early, and one daughter couldn't wait because she knew it would be an instant introduction to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And they both ended up fine, but I mean, I think she had a really good time. She was never a real outdoorsy person, but managed beautifully. Do they have to provide a lot of stuff, or do you?
We provide a lot of the stuff that they need.
Yeah.
So, simple things just like clothes and sleeping bags, stuff like that. We try to ask them, but we have most of the gear, like the stoves.
Yeah.
We rent out a lot of packs, tarps, the food. We deal with all the food, the transportation, all of that stuff. So it's really set up so that they can just show up. We have a lot of like safety nets so that if they show up and they're missing something, we can get something for them. If they show up and or put on a mountain biking trip and realize that they don't know how to ride a bike, we can switch them to a new trip. There's a lot of...
You have to be flexible, don't you?
Yeah, it's a lot of...
Do you ever have any issues along the way where you've had to send someone home or bring someone
occasionally.
medical? Or?
So we have... So the program's actually, it's incredible the way that it runs. It just, once it starts rolling, it runs like a well-oiled machine. It's
pilot,
unbelievable. Yeah. So we have, I think it's about 350 student volunteers who help run this program. And it's
a lot of volunteers,
It's
folks.
a competitive process to be part of this as an upperclassman. So people have to go through an application process, and we read all the applications and have to pick out these people. And this is the trip leaders. So we have 286, I think, this year, 286 trip leaders. And these are people who are in the woods. They're in charge for 5 days. They're in charge of the maps. They're in charge of how everything works. And, some of these people are very skilled outdoors people, and some of them have never been hiking before and have no interest in it. And it's great to have those people on trips as well, because we have freshmen who've never been hiking before and have no interest in it. So to have a leader that they can connect with on that is really great.
It's kind of an equalizer for the ones that are a little less into it.
And then we have 65 students who run support crews, and so they run for the entirety of trips, whereas the trip leaders are out for 5 days for one section. These support crew folks are out for 2.5 weeks. They are on call 24 hours a day.
So are they in vehicle? I mean, are they back home, or are they along the way?
They are spread out everywhere, and so we have some of them in Hanover. So if you drive through Hanover during trips, you'll see the crazy people with rainbow hair blasting music from in front of Robinson Hall. Yes. So those are our volunteers. And then we have another group of them at the end at the Moose Lock Ravine Lodge to greet everyone when they get to the lodge. Wow. And then we have 3 teams of people out in the field helping with specific things. So on certain trips that require specific skills, like the whitewater kayaking trip, we have a group of students who are very skilled at whitewater kayaking to help teach that and really help them through that. And then we have a group of 15 people who are the safety crew, and so they are basically on call 24 hours a day. They do water drops, they do evacuations for a twisted ankle or anything like that, and they're just on call to deal with anything that might happen, and usually the worst is a twisted ankle.
So you've got a lot of cell phones and walkie-talkies out there.
Oh yeah.
I think that's an amazing number of people on the staff.
Yeah.
On the support.
It's a huge number.
But you wouldn't feel safe telling a parent, I'm taking your child out into the woods for 5 days and we're on our own.
And hopefully they're fine.
And I couldn't carry him back if I had to.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to assure them as well as the student that
Exactly.
you're covered. As in any major endeavor, you've got support boats on a river, you've got support this and that. We had a woman here who, right up in White River, who swam the English Channel.
Oh, wow.
And she was talking about the whole thing comes down to the support.
Yeah.
I mean, I can swim, I can train, but if that boat isn't ready for anything that comes up,
Yeah.
I'm finished.
Yeah.
And same here. If you can't call a number and get someone, you don't,
To
I mean,
help
you
out.
don't like to think you're going to have a lot of problems, but
Yeah.
you have to assume you are just to be prepared.
Yeah, those volunteers put in an unbelievable number of hours. They're just...
So what year are I asked you earlier, I was assuming wrongly, that it would be a sophomore summer kind of a preparation. It's not at all. You're
It's
a
not.
grad.
Yeah. So I'm a recent grad. I just graduated from the engineering school. And all of the volunteers, it's a variety of years. And so we've been in the planning process since November.
Wow.
So I picked a group of folks they're my directorate,
Yep.
and they run all of those crews and several other aspects of the program that people are overseeing. And so I picked them in January. So they've been planning and going through all of that since January. And so the support crews, the trip leaders, everyone involved, our goal is really to try to get those volunteers to represent campus and represent the diversity that you see on campus in every way that you can imagine.
You have
so,
to now. You have to.
Yeah, because it means a lot when an incoming student comes in and they see this group of 15 upperclassmen, and then they can identify with those
Someone
people
in that
on
group
some level.
strikes them right away.
Exactly. They can connect with at least one person there. That's really our goal. And that's hard when you have 1,100 people coming in, but we do our best.
Well, I think that's the beauty of these trips. Again, it starts someone new off who's a little bit scared, won't admit it, but jumps right into a group of people that he's going to live very closely with, or she, for 5 days. You can't help but become friends with somebody in that group. Doesn't mean you have to go home and be friends forever, but that's a critical time in there.
Yeah.
Probably the most critical time of Dartmouth life. But I'm impressed that some of these people are already graduated and are still hanging around doing this.
So it's usually just the director, which is my position, and the assistant director are graduated, and everyone else is going into their senior year or younger. And so I think it's really important for those people to be around for all of next year to help out those incoming students, because they really act as resources for the whole year.
Exactly right. And freshmen probably wonder if they'll ever have friends outside the freshman class, or you know, and that's another way to link up with a whole different level.
In a way. Yeah.
But I think I wish I'd had them when I was at school. Just dated myself, but why wouldn't you know that? I've seen enough people go through these programs where they just feel like, I almost didn't do this.
Yeah.
I almost didn't want to go to school earlier than I had to, and yet I came out of it with probably the best part of my 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty neat testimonial.
Yeah, it really is. I've heard a lot of people say, I think this is the most interesting thing I've heard, is people say, you see the students come in for their trip and they are high school students.
Yep.
And they come back from their trip after spending 5 days in the woods and they are Dartmouth students.
They are Dartmouth students. They're young men and women versus kids, as I shouldn't call them that, but I think of that difference too.
Yeah.
Very different people when you have to, it's like going on an Outward Bound or something where you grow up in a hurry.
Yeah. It's very cool to see those changes happen just over 3 days.
Now, where were you during all of this?
Everywhere.
Are you checking up on every group at some point?
Yeah, so I have no specific, if I do my job well this summer, I have no specific responsibilities during trips, and I am kind of just helping out wherever I'm needed. So
but you're basically home base.
I will be based in and around Hanover probably. I'll be up at the lodge every couple nights, helping out there and wherever I'm needed, I guess.
Cool. So do you use the sophomores a lot that are here for the summer as helpers, or
yes.
do they get very involved?
They don't know that yet, but
they don't know.
I will be having them help me in a couple of weeks doing inventory of all of our gear.
Good. Well, you have to know that.
Exactly.
If everyone doesn't have the
You
same
gotta
equipment.
know how many Band-Aids we have.
You bet. Everybody needs the same thing on a given trip, same amount of everything. So that's, people forget about the things like that. That seems small. It's huge.
Yeah. It's
someone has one paddle and the other has two.
Yep.
That's a problem.
It is a problem.
So you go out on the Connecticut? And
So
way up or down or
the
whichever?
trips, it's actually kind of neat. We have a big map in my office that's hung up, and it's
fun.
it's Hanover to the top of the state of New Hampshire, and it has just all of our trips drawn on it, and we really just take over the state.
Good. Good.
So we send students up to the Second College Grant,
Yep.
which is way up in northern New Hampshire and borders Maine. We send students up to the Presidentials, the Whites, along the Appalachian Trail. They're local up at the Dartmouth Organic Farm. We're sending some students to the Oak Hill Stores Pond area, out to Morton Horse Farm. So we send students
And
everywhere.
what do they do out at Oak Hill, for instance?
Out at Oak Hill, we're going to be running a mountain biking trip. So a lot of the ski trails out there
They're
are used
wonderful
for
for
mountain
mou-
biking. And so we're running a beginner mountain biking trip, which is going to be led by students in the mountain biking club. This is actually a new trip this year. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
This trip used to go out to Norwich, and we moved it out to Oak Hill because a lot of our students who are involved in the mountain biking club do a substantial amount of biking out at Oak Hill rather than in Norwich. And so we are sending them out there on ski trails. There's some single track trails out there if they
Now,
get
do
to it.
they tent out there, or do they come back?
Yep, they'll be tenting out at the Oak Hill area. Not really tenting. We don't send them with tents. We send them with tarps.
Tarps.
Yep. Hang up
it's
tarps
cover.
if it's rain. Yeah.
It's cover. That's all you need.
Yep.
I think that's neat. I hadn't thought of it being so close to home, but that.
Yeah.
I know I have a daughter who trail bikes on Colorado ski trails.
Yeah.
Roots
Exactly.
And roots and rocks, and
Yeah.
she's crazy. But I mean,
We added
I say
a
that-
hiking trip that is actually hiking out to Oak Hill and up to Balch Hill also, which I'm really excited about because I think it's a really great way for students to also connect where they are with the wilderness that's so close and like these beautiful areas
Look
that
at
you
the
can walk
access
to
from
from
here.
campus. Yeah.
Hanover, having the Appalachian Trail run through it is pretty neat.
Yeah.
And a lot of people probably choose it,
Yeah.
one school over another. Look what I get out of it. I'm
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
hiker.
Yeah.
But that you have so many resources that people don't realize you can use. I wouldn't have thought of Oak Hill. I would have thought you'd be further away, but look what's there. Everything a mountain biker needs.
Exactly.
And then you're out on the river.
Yep, so we send a flatwater kayaking trip on the Connecticut, so we drop them off upstream and they actually kayak back to campus.
Wow.
And then get picked up at campus and driven up to the Ravine Lodge.
Oh.
Yeah, which that's just a beautiful
And where do you do
trip.
whitewater?
The whitewater trip and the canoeing trip happen up north in the College Grant, the Second College Grant.
Okay.
Yep.
I never know where those whitewater spots are, but whitewater canoeing. And then you have yoga.
Yep, so the
One
yoga...
of them includes yoga with
Yeah, so
an
it's
activity.
it's a hike and yoga trip. So they hike
Hike and
into the class of 1966 lodge,
Hike
which used to
and
be
yoga.
called Harris Cabin, which is in Etna. And they hike in there, and they are encouraged to do yoga on top of Moose Mountain.
Oh,
Yeah.
top of the world.
Exactly.
So you obviously have trained people to,
We have our student leaders are either trained yoga instructors or they are just very avid yoga practicers.
enough to
Enough
lead,
to teach it.
lead and
Yeah.
That's quite a mix. I don't think anyone has ever told me about trips that include sort of art forms along with
Yeah.
something athletic.
Yeah, it's
And what
it's
a wonderful
pretty neat.
mix, because yoga
Yeah.
is so hot right now.
Exactly.
that
I know.
I would think that would have been a very appealing one to,
Yeah, it was a pretty
when
popular
the
one.
list went out.
Yeah.
There'd be a few disappointed people.
Yeah.
But there's yoga everywhere, so they'll get it right in the gym.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's wonderful. So they get a notice or what? Just send something out that says, here are the trips we're going on, write me back.
Yep, so
what
they
their
got
choice might be?
a registration form to just collect information about what they're available for, and then we turned that all around, sent something back to them to let them know when to arrive on campus, what
Okay.
to expect, packing lists, stuff like that.
Because we see that if you live around here, I'll drive through the green and see just gear and gear
Everywhere.
and gear all over sprawling in
Oh,
front
yeah.
of Robinson. And It looks like a very exciting time. It makes you want to go back to that. They're about to go off on something
Yeah,
really
it's pretty
exciting.
neat. So all of the trips start in Hanover, and they spend one night in Hanover, and so they spend that afternoon kind of getting acquainted with their trip group, getting to know their trip leaders,
Yep.
playing games, getting all their gear ready, making sure everyone's set, and then they head out into whatever activity, wherever they're going. And split off into just their little groups of 6 to 12.
Yep.
And then they spend one full day, and then they spend a night, then they spend another full day and another
Awesome.
night outside. Then they hike out or get picked up or boat in or wherever to their
Neat.
pickup spot and get driven up to the lodge. And they meet up with their whole section back up at the lodge. So all those same people that they were in Hanover with, they meet up at the lodge.
Okay, and that's just a big finale up there?
Yeah, and so it's a great way to kind of like mix all of the people back
Yeah,
together. So
yeah.
you've had a good time to get to know those 6 to 12 people. You can either spend more time getting to know them or like branch out to the other 100
Exactly.
students.
Oh.
And we try to get like a lot of Dartmouth traditions and things like that going on up
That's
at the
fabulous.
lodge.
That
And then
you
they come back the next
Probably
morning.
teaching them the song. And
Oh yeah,
all those things.
salty dog rag.
exactly. Have they, before they do all of this, have gotten into their dorm rooms and all and gotten unloaded?
Some of
In
them.
other respects, or-
Yeah, so it's very complicated. It's amazing how much this program affects the rest of the college, and it's been really wonderful for me to work with this program and see how important this program is
Yeah.
to a lot of administration.
You can tell.
And people have been incredibly helpful to me to just like make this happen. And so the housing office is one of those places where it's another puzzle for them. And so some students move in right after their trip, and some students, the ones that go on the earlier sections, are often from New England, and so they go on their trip and then they go home and then they
Get
come
the gear.
back for orientation.
But if they come up from some faraway place, they'd have
Right.
to have a place to at least put their stuff.
Exactly. So they move into their dorms.
I love this. As I say, I would go back in a heartbeat if I had
Yeah.
that kind of an entrance into a college experience. So it was just basically drop off and
Yeah.
see ya.
I was working 2 years ago. I was running the safety crew, and the director at that time, his name was Dan Sussman, and I remember talking to him, and he told me, he was like, this program, like, it's not necessary. Like, you can get into college, and you can go to college without going to things like this, and it's totally fine, but it just makes it so much better.
I thought you were going to say he was really poo-pooing.
No.
And I would have said it adds a dimension that would never
Exactly.
happen.
It's
And
just
and for kids
something
that
totally new and
don't
just
break into new groups
fantastic.
easily,
Yeah.
kind of have to.
Yeah.
I mean, in a nice, natural way, they're forced into being more gregarious than they thought they were.
Yeah.
Because they've got to be part of the group for a while. You better make it a good one. This, unfortunately, is a very quick half hour.
Yeah.
I could go on. I've got more questions for you, but maybe we'll come back at the end of it. You're now getting ready. They start.
August 22nd, we get our
Wow.
first freshman in. Wow. Our first section.
Ooh,
I know,
exciting.
it's very soon.
Yeah, but you sound like you're under control. You sound like
Hope
someone
so.
that is.
Got
and you said,
buses, food, leaders.
you said you're picked to do this. Mm-hmm. It isn't a vote or a.
I was hired by the outdoor programs office.
Okay. Through obviously experiences you've had over the years with them.
Yep.
They knew you could do it. And you said it changes every year.
Yep.
Nope.
So the program is entirely student run, and the leadership changes every year. There's usually some carryover. So like I was in charge of the safety crew 2 years ago, but it really has the opportunity to reinvent itself in a lot of ways every year, which is great.
I'm impressed with the fact that Dartmouth, and maybe other schools too, I don't know, leaves this in your hands.
Yeah.
They aren't mandating everything. You are on your own,
Yeah.
essentially. Luckily, with a lot of history to help you, and
A lot of history and a
journals
lot
and
of
records
support,
and
yeah.
support. But I think it's wonderful. It's a student run. I just think that not everything on campus can be. So
Yeah,
this
it's
is
been really great.
This is kind
It's
of
been
empowering.
a learning experience for me, for sure.
Well, you act like you're ready to go, so I'd trust you if I had to go
good.
somewhere. Now, maybe not Whitewater, but
Yeah.
almost anywhere else.
I
would
wouldn't trust
absolutely
myself whitewater
take you.
kayaking.
I would take you as my leader. Again, folks, when you have a fun-spirited individual like Emily sitting with you, you don't know where that time went. But thank you so much, because
thank you. This is
I
great.
learned everything about these trips. I knew nothing, and that was what was fun about this for me, was that I think I'm not the only one in this community that doesn't know what goes on. We know when they've all landed and
Yeah.
they're taken off somewhere, but unless your kid is going there, you don't know. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could share.
I hope you out there enjoyed that, because I went from 0 to 100 in terms of knowledge of the freshman trip. So Emily, thank you so much.
Thank
it was
you.
a real treat to learn more about it. Again, I'm breathless. I'm always sad that it does go so fast when you have someone like Emily sitting next to you, but when you see those pink hairdos and funny clothes and clown suits in front of Robinson, don't say this is weird, this campus has gone crazy. It's all part of the freshman trips, which are so valuable to the kids. And just know that when you see them, these kids are about to start off on a wonderful, wonderful adventure that's going to make their Dartmouth experience a whole lot better. And I admire you for doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. And thank all of you. Remember our website. You can go on CATV8 now and look up Vimeo, and all our shows are up there. In a one section, second page of it, I believe, they're all alphabetical. So if you get into about page 10 or 11, Spirit of the Valley has all its shows up there. So tell your friends who don't see this channel that there is a way. It's always nice that people around the world, if you so want to think of it that way, can see this. And even places around here don't get it, so you have to tell your friends how to look you up. And but if you're in Hanover, you do get it, so I will let you know when it'll be on.
Great.
Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time. And by then, these well, no, they won't. We will see you before they leave. But in the meantime, goodbye for now.